Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Halichki. I hope you are doing well. Today, we are talking about the show My Strange Addiction. And I feel like most people know the show for being extreme. It's a show built around showing behaviors that are meant to shock you and also make you feel uncomfortable. But I don't think people really talk about what the show is actually doing. Not just what is being shown, but how it's being shown. Because this show is framed as a reality when in actuality, it's also being edited, structured, and presented in a way that is meant to entertain. The series first aired in 2010 and continued releasing episodes up until 2015. But if there's one thing people have come to recognize about the TLC programming is that things aren't always exactly as they appear. The American Society of Addiction Medicine defines addiction as a treatable chronic medical disease involving complex interactions among brain circuits, genetics, the environment, and an individual's life experiences. While some behaviors shown on My Strange Addiction may seem to fit this description, many are more accurately understood as mental health conditions. For example, individuals who consume non-food items like mattresses or sand may be experiencing pica. There are a few behaviors that show up repeatedly on this show. Some individuals engage in sensory-based behaviors because they provide comfort or stimulation, and this could range from needing frequent physical contact with others to more intense or unusual forms of sensory input. In season 5, viewers are introduced to Keisha. I think it's Keisha? We're going to say Keisha. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. We're going with Keisha, a 22-year-old from Queens who is addicted to sniffing and chewing on dirty diapers. She states in the episodes that it has to have pee in it and that the heavier ones that have more pee smell better. Throughout the episode, you witness her chewing on these diapers multiple times, and she has diapers all over her home and always has one on her even if she's going out in public. Body-focused repetitive behaviors are compulsive actions directed towards one's own body. This includes behaviors like hair pulling, skin picking, nail biting. In season 1, episode 7, we are introduced to Haley. She has been pulling out and eating her own hair, covering what's left with a bandana, hiding it so well that her 2-year-old daughter doesn't notice it. So this is crazy because when I was in 5th grade, I actually pulled out my hair obsessively, like throughout the entire year. I was probably the most anxiety ridden, worrisome 5th grader that you would probably ever meet. But I think like as time went on, I think I stopped pulling my hair out like that summer. It just lasted a year. I don't know why. I think 5th grade, I was stressed and I was trying to get through it. I just wanted to mention that and let you guys know. Obsessive compulsive patterns involve in repeated rituals or compulsions such as excessive cleaning, hoarding, or other repetitive actions. While they can be associated with OCD, they are often driven by underlying fear or anxiety. From season 2, episode 2, we are introduced to Evan. He's a 28-year-old from Seattle, and he is addicted to collecting and smelling wet, slimy hair from shower drains. And he began this habit after his father's death. I think that every girl would love Evan because I hate pulling out my own hair. But then again, I'm using someone who has an obsessive compulsive disorder to pull hair out of my drain. So I guess shouldn't use people, but we shouldn't use people. Okay, moving on. Attachment behaviors are something everyone experiences to some degree, whether it's forming an emotional bond with other people or finding comfort in objects like a blanket or a stuffed animal. I will say I have slept with a stuffed animal all the way until college, okay? True. It is the most comforting thing in the entire world, especially if you don't have like a pet or something. Like in college, you're usually not allowed to bring a pet. I now have a pet, and I don't need a stuffy anymore. Do I miss her? Yes, she was a little panda with sparkle eyes, and she has like old mascara on her because I used to cry into her. Like, she's an old teddy bear, and she's up in the attic at my old family's house. Anyway, there is no shame in having a teddy bear. Okay, moving on. In season 4, episode 2, we are met with Mark, who is addicted to inflatables. At 20 years old, Mark is obsessed with 15 inflatable pool toys, treating them as partners, eating with them, and bathing them. Compulsive consumption is something that the show often highlights to extreme forms of overconsumption, using certain items or engaging in habits in excessive ways. Examples like this is going through like hundreds of baby wipes daily or undergoing dozens of plastic surgery procedures, which leads us into Justin. He is known as the Human Ken doll, and he appeared in season 4, episode 1. He was featured for his obsession with plastic surgery, having undergone over 125 procedures to transform his body into a living doll aesthetic. Also, I don't think these numbers are up to date. He has probably had even more than that now that it's 2026. Not everyone featured on the show appears to be seeking treatment. In some cases, being on the program seems more connected to gaining visibility and attention. A well-known example is Trisha Paytas. She is a controversial YouTube personality with millions of followers. She appeared on the show for an alleged tanning addiction, and she admitted that she could stop tanning, but I don't want to stop. And that is Trisha Paytas at her finest. Regardless of how these behaviors are categorized, many of them are obviously unsafe. For instance, a man named Josh was shown consuming glass and even live ammunition despite concerns from his fiance about his health. I'm concerned about why she decided to stay with Josh, even though he is supposedly eating glass and ammunition. Josh also admitted that part of what drawn him to doing all these crazy actions was the attention, noting that swallowing bullets felt more like a rush due to the higher risk, including potential heavy metal poisoning. I couldn't even imagine how he is passing the bullets. I mean, it's probably quite easy coming out of your bum. I don't even want to think about the glass. I don't know. I feel like that is just insane. I can't even talk. I can't even think about him consuming glass and how it is just getting through his body and he's fine. I'm hoping it's just like fake sugar candy, because that is absolutely insane. Another example is Teresa, who was featured on her dependence for smelling gasoline. According to her family, she did this every 10 minutes and experienced memory loss and severe stomach issues over time. A neurologist on the show even warned her that each instance was essentially like playing Russian roulette. However, like many stories on the show, there is little follow-up or closure about whether these participants stopped. In some of the cases, the show appears to present only part of the story. A woman named Carrie was featured for drinking her own urine, which was framed as an addiction. In reality, she was practicing urine therapy as an alternative approach to treating cancer. While this method is not medically supported, it is not a new concept either. I feel like anyone who has cancer or any other life-threatening thing like that would try to do any and everything to try to heal themselves. If I was in her story and let's say nothing is working or you don't have the finances to do treatment, why not try any of these other remedies that could possibly help you? Carrie later explained that her portrayal on the show was very misleading. In a letter she shared publicly, she stated that the program made it seem like she consumed urine constantly, when in reality that wasn't accurate. She also mentioned that the producers pushed for a more extreme narrative, suggesting that the reality of her situation wasn't enough for viewers. I think it's pretty wild that she actively has cancer and the producers are like, this is not enough, honey. We gotta make this crazy. I know you're sick. I know you're like actively, dying. But yeah, it's not enough. So make this better. I feel like Hollywood as a whole have no idea what like real life is for real people. To push Carrie for this like false narrative is so disgusting on their part. There have also been claims that some of the participants were misled about the nature of the show entirely. One individual, Lauren, shared in a Reddit AMA that her episode was heavily staged, which makes sense. A lot of these are so out of the water, and like, this is showbiz, baby. Like, you gotta up the ante. They're definitely taking advantage of people with real health conditions just to make money, and not every person was getting compensated for just being on the television show. In season 1, episode 7, Lauren's addiction was being a furry. They used her being a furry as an addiction. That's insane. The fact that they labeled being a furry or participating in that community was an addiction says a lot about the producers of this show. Being a furry can be like a hobby to some people or a way to express themselves because they don't feel comfortable in their own skin. Lauren showcased her addiction to wearing her fursuit, specifically her fursona, which was a fennec fox, using it as a social, protective, and therapeutic coping mechanism. According to Lauren, very little of what was shown reflected her real life. She said most of the scenes were scripted, guided, or placed her in situations she wouldn't normally be in. Lauren also clarified that this was just a hobby of hers and she occasionally showed up at conventions wearing her fursuit. Outside of that, she has a normal life, a job, relationships, other interests. She felt that the show exaggerated a small part of her life just to fit its narrative. When you look at all of this together, it's pretty obvious that the show is not about strange addictions. It's a show presenting people in a real way that isn't always honest. Participants were being misled about what the show actually was, and scenes were being guided or fully scripted, and people's stories were being exaggerated and taken out of context. And it's pretty clear that a lot of what was being shown to the audience isn't the full truth. A lot of the participants were dealing with real conditions that weren't properly explained, or they were portrayed in a way that made their situation seem more extreme than it actually was. Instead of helping viewers understand the behaviors going on, and instead of helping the participants maybe get the help and counseling that they need, this show just turned into pure entertainment. Thanks for sticking with me to the end. That is today's video. I had so much fun doing this. I haven't posted in some time because I work all the time, and so I'm trying to make more time for myself to do this, and I hope I can start getting out more videos. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you have any topics that you would like me to cover, please comment them down below. Please hit that big red juicy subscribe button to help support my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Whew. Bye bye.